Hi, Mark, and today we have to talk about Boris Johnson's relationship to the truth again. Did Boris Johnson know about breaches of COVID rules in his office and lied to Parliament? This is indicated by a parliamentary report. If the suspicion is confirmed, it could have serious consequences. So, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson allegedly lied to the British House of Commons several times in the Partygate affair, at least according to research by a parliamentary committee. The preliminary report published on Friday found that he should have known that the applicable corona rules were being broken during lockdown celebrations at his seat of government and other authorities. Evidence strongly suggested that policy violations were obvious to Johnson, it said. The Conservative politician, on the other hand, said the report exonerated him and showed that he had not deliberately lied to Parliament, although we know he usually doesn't read reports. However, if the suspicion is confirmed, contrary to Johnson's account, he could be suspended for 10 days and ultimately face the loss of his mandate if his voters withdraw their trust in him. The ex-head of government is due to testify before the committee in the week of March 20th, but there is no exact date yet. Friday's release should update Johnson and his attorneys on the investigation. The ex-prime minister had repeatedly emphasized on the lower house that no corona rules had been broken and that he had no knowledge of celebrations during the lockdowns. However, the British media published numerous reports over a period of months, and not to forget he was even fined for that by the police. Downing Street workers are said to have thrown several parties during the pandemic, with Johnson not attending most of them, but still some. There was a wine fridge, couples had sex in offices, Johnson's son's swing set broke at a party. And the committee also released some images of meetings where Johnson and his staff did not wear masks. The investigation was also held up by the unwillingness of Johnson's government, it said. The ex-prime minister, who also resigned in July 22 because of the pressure in the affair, also sharply attacked the internal Partygate investigator Sue Gray, but we talk about this later today. And this man is now making it difficult for his successor again. According to reports in The Guardian, Boris Johnson said he found it very difficult to agree to the so-called Windsor framework. That means Sunak's deal with the EU. This would affect the British economy, according to Johnson. Nonetheless, the ousted Prime Minister has not yet clearly stated that he would vote against the plans should the lower house vote on them as planned. So far, there has been criticism, but no resolute resistance from the Conservative ranks, let alone the feared rebellion. Sunak's agreement was also received rather positively by many of the Tories' Brexit supporters, even the ERG. And according to The Guardian, Johnson emphasized that it was important to be clear that it was not about the UK regaining control. The EU only has mercy on allowing the British to do what we want in our own country, not according to our laws, but according to theirs, said the former Prime Minister. Well, we know this from him. Commenting on the Windsor framework, Johnson said, "It's going to be very difficult for me to vote for something like this myself, because I think we should have done something different, no matter how much plaster is falling from the ceiling in Brussels." Well, the EU, Sunak, and the Windsor framework are something Johnson could have achieved a long time ago, and it's better than what he did. But the MPs are expected to vote on the Windsor framework within the next few weeks, and one option for Johnson would to be abstain from any vote rather than specifically voting against the deal. The former party prime minister who negotiated the Northern Ireland Protocol and signed it, we must never forget that, is still an influential backbencher despite his resounding failure as prime minister. Nevertheless, observers assume that the majority of Conservative MPs would vote for the deal. This is also supported by the Labour Party led by Keir Starmer. And meanwhile, Sunak is still trying to convince the unionist DUP in Northern Ireland. In doing so, he's also building on the persuasiveness of the Stormont break contained in the agreement. I talked about this in other videos. Of course, the incumbent Prime Minister classifies the importance of his deal differently than his predecessor did. Sunak says he believed the deal would prove beyond a reasonable doubt that we have regained control. He said the deal would make a positive difference for everyone in Northern Ireland. The deal is about what is best for the people of Northern Ireland and not about personalities. That's what the Prime Minister said, according to The Guardian. But the point is, Boris Johnson negotiated, well, in the form of David Frost, but nevertheless negotiated and signed the Northern Ireland Protocol. And with the Windsor framework on the implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol, it's not what they always say, a big rewrite of the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's more a set of rules for the implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol. But Johnson had something worse when he negotiated. And now, with this deal, it's even better for businesses in Northern Ireland. And Sunak is right when he betrayed himself a little bit by saying it's extraordinary deal that Northern Ireland has there, nobody else has. Well, nobody else has now. Before Brexit, Scotland, Wales and England also had this unique thing, the access to the UK internal market and the EU internal market, which now, after Brexit, only Northern Ireland has, and only because we need to keep the peace in Ireland, in the whole of Ireland, by keeping up the Good Friday Agreement. So I don't know what, well, nobody ever knows what Johnson is talking about, but in this case, it's a complete set of nonsense again. Plus, we all know he lied to Parliament. He has not only lied to Parliament, that's why I made the video about Johnson a few days ago. He also lied to the DUP right when he came up with the Northern Ireland Protocol in the negotiations with the EU. He told the DUP that there will be no border of any kind, not for goods, not for anything in the Irish Sea. And in the end, what did we have? A customs border for goods in the Irish Sea. And by the way, because some people asked this earlier, there never was any issue about people traveling from Northern Ireland to the UK or vice versa. The Irish border, sea border, was never about people traveling. It was about checks on goods and nothing else. And I mentioned that I will talk about Sue Gray later today, because my voice, you can probably still hear it, is still not where it's supposed to be. I'm still not completely recovered from this mother of all colds after Carnival. That's why I only can manage one long video for this channel plus one magazine, and then my voice is completely gone. But to keep up a little bit more information, I decided to do shorts if I can at noon and in the evening. That's why I just saw a short yesterday, because it was prepared already for yesterday, for the day before yesterday evening. But then I updated OBS. I'm working with OBS, and when it's working, it's a great system I can work very well with. But whenever I have to upgrade it, I need a full day of get it working properly again with my setup. And that's what happened once again after the latest update. I needed the full Saturday to work on get it working again, and couldn't make more videos anymore, although they were planned. But you'll see the videos today then. And as I said, one long in the morning and at noon, and in the evening, two shorts with short, but from my point of view, important information. And using the shorts feature I rarely used here on this channel. So I finally can do that. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.